Hey, it's Kori Akemi, and today we're going to be talking about how being the good child can be a bad thing. We're going to discuss things like the definition of the good child, problems with being the good child, and how to recover if this is you. So I'm really excited to talk about all these things today, so let's begin. Let's talk about the definition of the good child. And before I continue, I want to say this, that in today's episode, I am referring to the good child in the extreme sense. I am not referring to people who are law-abiding citizens or who are people who are just decent, polite, and kind people. That's a separate category of people. What I'm referring to today is when parents and when children are raised to be the good child. It's a child who is overly compliant, does everything the parent wants them to do, never complains or acts in a rebellious manner. Literally, the child has the same thoughts and feelings as the parents do. Basically, what happens is that parents use their children to meet their needs. So they raise a good child that doesn't challenge them or doesn't make them feel uncomfortable or does everything exactly as they say. And this is really not a good thing. So that is the definition of a good child. I hope that's helped you understand what being the good child means and how detrimental it can be. And in the next segment, I'm gonna talk about how that can really affect a child in a negative way. Let's talk about the problems with being the good child. If you have a good child or you are raising the quote-unquote good child, as I explained before, you are basically raising a people pleaser. And this is a problem because your kid will not be able to think for themselves. They will have conversations with not just the parents, but with everybody else, their friends, their teachers, their co-workers, anybody that they relate to in the future. They will have conversations and will constantly try to say the right thing, not what they actually think. They're going to try to, in the conversation, try to assess really quickly what is the good thing to say. They won't know how to express themselves in a healthy manner and have healthy conversations with people. They're probably going to avoid conflict. They're not going to be able to speak their mind. They're always going to try to have the response that is going to make the other person happy because they're so attached or they so badly want to be the good person because the parent raised the kid by saying things like, if you do this and this and this, that means you're good. If you listen to me, then you're good. If you tell me what I want to hear, then that means you're good. So they associate being a good person with pleasing everybody else. And that is not true. Being a good person is having healthy boundaries. It's loving yourself. Being a good person is being able to say how you feel and respecting somebody else's opinion. It's being a good person is not pleasing everybody else 24/7 all day every day. That's not what being good means. But yet there are parents out there who are raising their kids to be good children, who are raising children to be convenient for them. They want the kid who's just going to be like a little robot and listen to them and do everything as they say. And this is really difficult because I find that these parents are afraid or like they want an easy child, but they want their kid to be good because they're afraid that if they are something different than what they know to be true, then their kid is going to fail. So that's what I think a lot of like raising a good child from the parents' point of view, it's a very fear-based approach to parenting. They, rather than allowing their child to discover or explore who they are, they want their child to be exactly as they are because it's already been done before. And if it's already been done before, then that means their child is going to be safe. And that means that their child is going to meet their expectations and make them happy. So that's why I feel like a lot of parents raise this type of good children. And it can be scary because having a child in your image is not necessarily a good thing, right? As we discussed before. So another thing that I want to talk about is that if you do have a good child, another side effect of this is that a child will feel like they're empty inside. They feel like they will have no purpose or no meaning to life because their whole life is about pleasing other people. And I know somebody really close to me who was like this, and they were sad. I really do feel like they were sad, and they felt like they never were able to live for themselves. And I feel like it made them very unhappy in the inside, and they held resentment towards people in their life because they never could feel like they could speak up or say what they really wanted to say. They always kept it within themselves and kept it to themselves and just pleased everybody. And that person was not, they acted, you would think that they would be happy, but they actually weren't, because they didn't really have a life of their own. And so that's one of the side effects of raising a child like this, is that you are going to have a child who feels very, very empty on the inside. Another thing that I want to talk about is that a child will develop anxiety problems, major anxiety problems, because they associate being the good child with making everybody happy. So they're constantly going to be worried that nobody is going to love them for who they are unless they make them happy. So it's this constant cycle of anxiety, because as a kid, you're going to be walking around constantly worried that people are going to reject you if you're not putting on a show for people, or if you're not making everybody happy, then that means that nobody's going to love you for who you are. And that's not good, right? Because your kid, or we are fine as we are. It's really not good, because a child will basically be constantly terrified that they're a disappointment to everybody in their life. They won't be confident in themselves. And if you are somebody who was affected by this, and you know what I'm talking about, then I'm going to talk about in the next segment, which is how to recover from this and how to learn how to live for yourself. If you are somebody who was raised to be a good child, then I want to talk about how you can recover from this and how you can change your life, and how I want to give you my tips so that way you can start to live for yourself. My first recommendation for you would be, you are going to disappoint people. And just because you disappoint somebody else in your life doesn't mean that you are a bad person. So, if you are a typical good child, then you are probably used to people adoring you in some way, or you're probably used to your parents just thinking that, oh, you're just the perfect kid. Your parents probably just adore you because you do everything that they say. Well, that's about to change, because you're going to start thinking for yourself, and your parents or even your friends may not look at you that way anymore. And I think I want to let you know that them not adoring you in this way doesn't mean that you're a bad person, and to expect that, and to not be so shocked if your parents may not see you in the same light anymore. You may not feel that warm and fuzzy feeling from them anymore, like, oh, you're just the perfect kid for us. You may not feel that anymore, because your parents are going to, you're going to start having your own mind, and you may disagree with them. And I also recommend that you sit down and have this conversation with your parents in a gentle way, and you say, you know what, I've made some decisions. I want to change my career, or, I think differently, and that's okay, because most of the time your parents, they're still going to love you anyway, and that's okay. You get to express your own opinions and your different beliefs with them in a very respectful manner, and that's okay. So don't expect everybody to kind of treat you in that kind of adoring manner anymore. The next thing that I would recommend is that you surround yourself with your friends, or people who are going to really honor and respect this new version of you. You are going to be you 2.0 from now on. You are going to be this version of you is going to have your own thoughts, opinions, feelings, your own boundaries. You're going to have your own life from now on, right? So you got to surround yourself with friends and kind of let them know what you're doing. Like, okay, look, I've just realized that I am a chronic people pleaser and I want to change. So I was hoping if you could help me and encourage me to think for my own rather than trying to make you happy. And if you get your friends on board, then that support is really going to help you learn and have the confidence to think for yourself. And another thing too is that you may have friends who drop out of your life too, who are just not down for this new 2.0 version of yourself. And that's okay, because the reason why, if you have some friends who drop out of your life, just remember that they're leaving you because you're not saying yes to them anymore. And that's not a good friend anyway. You don't want that kind of friendship who is just your friend because you make them happy all the time. It's an equal relationship. It's a friendship that is from both sides. So you don't want them in your life anymore. So just be prepared for that. There may be some people who exit and leave your life because they're not They're not for you thinking for yourself, and that's okay. Just let them go anyway. Okay, and just again, my final recommendation for you would be, I want you to know that you cannot be perfect for everybody. The only person that you have to make happy right now is yourself, and learn to have your own opinions, thoughts, and recognize that within yourself, and that's okay. You don't be attached to being the perfect friend or the perfect person or being the good person anymore. Just learn to make yourself happy, and you get to love you, and you get to do what's right for you, and you get to start that process. Thanks for watching. For more Transform Your Life videos, please like and subscribe. Check me out on Instagram and Facebook at Kori Akemi. Until next time, bye.